Hello and welcome to the People of the Peninsula podcast, the podcast that dives deep into the vibrant and diverse lives of those who call the Leelanau Peninsula home. Each week, we bring you intimate conversations with locals from all walks of life, sharing their unique stories, experiences, and perspectives. From artists and entrepreneurs to educators and community leaders, discover the heart and soul of our beloved region through the voices of its people. Join us as we celebrate the richness of our community and uncover the hidden gems that make the peninsula a truly special place to live, work, and explore. I'm Brian Freiberger, and today we will be talking to Tim Hurley. Hurley is a Suttons Bay resident and has worked at Lincoln Electric for nearly 40 years. He's traveled all over the world as a technical salesman for the world leader in design, development, and manufacturing of arc welding products. Hurley enjoys his life on the Leelanau Peninsula with his wife Anne, and they just welcomed their fifth grandchild into the world. Don't forget to like and share the podcast as we branch out on this new endeavor. Thank you for the support.
Of course, like, well, that's a great chorus.
Yeah, great chorus. Great chorus.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway.
No, golf gets me off on golf. So I was actually just there this morning for a little bit. But Tim. So Tim, I know you bought this. You came up here in 2021, but you've been coming up here for a while.
Yeah, so Ann and I both grew up in Midland, and so for, through the 70s and 80s when we were dating in the 80s, we would come up here, vacation, visit for a weekend. We continued to do that as we were living in the Detroit area in the younger days with our kids, and just I don't know when it was, mid 2000s when we started thinking, well, maybe this would be the place where we'll end up retiring, and should we, would there be an option of buying something up here as we're nearing retirement or in retirement?
Yeah.
So it was fortunate the way my career went. I've been managing our Detroit office. Worked for the same company for the last 38 years. So right out of college, started working with this company, moved around, and we had been in Detroit. I've been managing the Detroit office since 2000. So 2016, I got a new role that was a work from a home office, global role for the company, and worked great for us living where we were in the Detroit area, convenient airport, and fly around the world wherever I needed to go. But then it became, as the plan became more in focus that we'd want to move up here, we kind of accelerated the time period and said, okay, we'll buy up here, and then we got the idea that we would build, and so that just kind of changed timelines a little bit, but we accelerated from wait until retirement to we're going to build and live here for a while before I retire.
Yeah, and just kind of tell me about that, your career there, because it's, remind me of the company.
So I work for a company called Lincoln Electric. They're based in Cleveland. Got hired right out of college, went to U of M, and was looking for more of a sales, like a technical sales. I have a degree in physics, and I was looking for more of a technical sales role, and they offered that. It's a company that does arc welding equipment and consumables. So you see the stuff. Lincoln product is in Home Depot and
Right.
Lowe's. We make home hobbyist type equipment, all the way up to fully automated, robotic, assembly line type of application. So I started as a technical sales person for Lincoln in Cleveland. Went through a training program there, got placed in our Detroit office. Then after about 5 years there, moved to Flushing or Flint area. It was like a sub office, kind of a manage yourself type of role. Then I managed our Indianapolis office. Then we came back to Detroit and managed the Detroit office again. Or managed it for the first time, but worked in the Detroit office, and then this global automotive role was an opportunity in 2016.
Okay, what kind of break down the global automotive role? What does that mean?
So what that is I don't have frontline like commercial sales responsibility. That's what I did for the first 30 years of my career with the company, was frontline. I was either the sales rep or the managing sales and service for a certain geography. The role that I have now is I look after the automotive business for us globally. So we have manufacturing in somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 countries right now. So anywhere that vehicles are made is pretty much a market for us to sell the welding equipment and the consumable filler metals that go along with the welding process. And so I look after that business in a way that try to connect global customers so that we bring best practices from wherever we may be doing business with that company, that supplier, tier one supplier to an automotive company. If we're doing things really, really well in North America, well then we want to be able to replicate that in Europe or in Asia, wherever they may be. And so that's part of the role. And then the other part of the role is to try to anticipate where the market is going for our customers. So transition to electric vehicles, what does that mean from a material standpoint, a joining process standpoint, and to position our company so that we're anticipating the changes in the market as opposed to reacting to them and coming to the game late. We want to be able to develop a process, a joining technology for customers in this business that before product ever hits production, we've got a solution ready to go for them that improves quality, productivity, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And are you retired now?
Nope, I have probably 3-ish year runway still. So I'm still. It's been a little bit of a change in that. Well, COVID changed everything from a travel standpoint. Prior to that, in this role, I was probably international trip almost once a month. So I had go to China 2 times a year, go to Japan once or twice, go to Europe 3 or 4 times, go to South America, Mexico, what have you. So when COVID hit, the tools that we now use and kind of take for granted, like Microsoft Teams and Zoom, were just in their early stages of WebEx.
Yeah.
So now I have weekly meetings with people, colleagues of mine around the world, where before I would fly there and work with them for a week and then come back. Now an awful lot of business can be transacted. Still need to be there in person at times, but it's limited the amount of travel that I have to do. So now living here, even though it's not that inconvenient, living in Traverse City, hopping on a flight at 6 a.m. and being in Detroit by 9 a.m., ready to go anywhere in the world, it can still work. The need to travel is less now, so it's more convenient to live up here even than it was, in the earlier part of this role.
Yeah, I'm sure a little less jet lag then.
It is, and no one's getting any younger, and I'm certainly not getting any younger. And it actually surprises me that even with travel to a place like India that takes you 28 hours to get there or something like that, it still doesn't totally wipe me out.
Yeah.
But I try to avoid those long trips now more than I used to.
Yeah, no, of course I can see that. Do you ever see those traveling after maybe after you're done or just in that position in general? You think that traveling thing will get back to normal? Or do you think it's gonna be a little more limited nowadays? For sure.
I think it is other than sort of geopolitical challenges. It's still pretty convenient, pretty easy to do. This year has been it's been kind of a lighter load because I've got some colleagues in my group that are taking some of the travel burden off of me, and so they're going in my stead. And one of my guys I just talked to this morning is going to go to China in August, where I probably would have been the person to do that in the past. There isn't a need from a personnel standpoint, but there's still. I think it's where I used to do a dozen trips a year internationally. It probably a normal routine would be more like 6 to 8.
Okay.
But it's still there's always a value, at least in I think in our world of connecting face to face with people, being in facilities, getting to know them, and particularly with my international colleagues, because we have I have counterparts all over the world that are friends of mine now because I go and I spend time with them, and so we have a different kind of a better working relationship, deeper relationship. And you can't get that without being there in person, I don't think. So I would never see it going away completely, but the tools we have do make it less necessary. So you can do it again. You're maybe it's 50% reduction or 30% reduction in the international travel that's necessary.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, just for, like you said, the transition to electric, what's been pushing lately. I mean, what does that kind of look like for Lincoln, in these next few years or next decade or something like that?
So there was a lot of concern over that, and that's one of the things that my role is supposed to help address. So as we looked at the new models rolling out 5 to 6 years ago, we really saw the basic structure of the vehicle hasn't changed a tremendous amount. There's actually been we always look at fabricated parts, so things that are bent and metal being joined together is where that's the business that
Right.
that I look after, and so the advent of electric vehicles means those large battery packs it's a new fabricated component within the existing vehicle structure,
Right.
and they may change some of the components around, like a F-150 Lightning still has a full steel frame just like the old model did, but now they've got an aluminum battery tray that kind of sits in the center of that, what looks like that ladder frame. And so there are new opportunities to weld those structures to work with our customers who are going to create that component to then sell to Ford to do the final vehicle assembly. So there's been new opportunities, also some challenges in things like Tesla. Their way of going to market and developing a new product and launching it more quickly creates some challenges, and they're looking at things like using big aluminum castings instead of some of the fabricated metal components. And so there are the transition to electric vehicles has been it's not negative, it's really a positive. There are more new programs and new opportunities for the company to participate in that business. But you also look at the future and you go, okay, are other joining technologies that we're a part of, like adhesives or mechanical fasteners, a bunch of stuff that I deal with on a daily basis that's probably very
Yeah.
boring for most folks, but those things are all in play as competing processes, competing technologies, along with casting. So it's ever changing, right? I joke, and I've joked about this a lot. When I was coming out of college, my dad had always encouraged me to get a technical degree, and you can do all sorts of things, and you have a hard knowledge. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go work for this company that does welding. And he was like, well, welding isn't that a dying industry? Isn't that a dying business, right? So that was 38 years ago. It was 1986, and I'm happy to say that the demise that my dad thought I was buying into has never been better, right? It's a great industry, and that's just my portion of what I look after. The place where you also see tremendous opportunity that some of my other colleagues could have peers in similar roles for the company, but things like wind power and offshore wind power in particular, where you're making large steel cylindrical structures, those are all very technical, mechanically very high standards for mechanical properties of the steel and the welded assembly and so forth. And that's a huge growth industry globally. And so all of those things, my world of electric vehicle transition, but the energy transition in general that's going on around the world is great opportunity for a company like ours and or other companies that do steel fabrication work. It's just finding your niche or your direction in that evolving world.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting because where are you originally from?
Midland, Michigan.
Midland. Okay,
Well,
you're from Midland.
born in Grand Rapids, moved around with my
Okay.
dad's job for a while as a kid, but really lived in Midland from the time I was like 7 years old.
Yeah.
So that was home of Dow Chemical, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of friends of ours became chemical engineers. Their
Mhm.
dads worked at Dow. Ann and I were both unique in that neither of us had parents that worked for Dow. Her dad was a building contractor. My dad ran the United Way in Midland, and so we were kind of like out of the norm for the average Midlanders.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And then you went to Michigan. You got this physics degree. I mean, I was just kind of, how did that kind of translate to going into Lincoln? I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, so the evolution of the physics degree was I was not an outstanding student. I was an okay student. So I couldn't get into the engineering school at Michigan, so I got into the literature, science, and the arts school. I still wanted to major in something technical, and physics just became kind of to me it was more of a logical kind of base science. Wasn't really into chemistry, and so physics was the direction I went, kind of more of mechanical side of physics. But I also learned enough about physics and about myself during school that I knew I didn't want to work in a lab, and a person with a bachelor's degree in physics isn't necessarily very marketable, because most of the classes you take as an undergrad in physics, they were like, well, we'll continue this process, or we'll continue this discussion and theoretical whatever in grad school. So your usable knowledge coming out wasn't so great. But I had also had a very unique experience as a high school kid. A lot of my friends, a lot of the people in Midland did co-op jobs as high school seniors. So you would work half the day, go to class half the day. That appealed to me. Not a huge classroom guy, so I wanted to work, and I worked in what was called tech service and development. So it was a lab at Dow Corning that dealt sort of a liaison between production of their various silicon resins and things and their customers that use them. And so I kind of got a feel for, there's sort of a sales side, customer interaction can be combined with technical know-how and problem solving. And that led me to think, okay, I'm coming out of school, maybe I could find a technical sales job that would still be, utilize some of the math, science stuff that I know, but not be a lab research thing, 'cause that just wasn't my gig either.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting about that the avenues we take to find, but you found a good fit. I mean, just over you said 40 years, 40 years there.
40 years? 38. Yeah, started in '86, June of '86. I just passed 2 weeks ago, past my 38th anniversary, I guess.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. Thanks. That's awesome. That's cool. I mean, at least in. I find a lot of people, maybe not in, I feel like in my age bracket, there's a lot less of, people going for a company for 40 years than there was in your, did you just like the experience overall? I mean, or is that just kind of?
Yeah, so Lincoln is a very unique company, probably less unique now than they were when I hired in. It was a privately held company in 1986 when I started, but the Lincoln brothers who founded the company, and the younger brother who was really the sort of the management genius behind it. The older brother was he was kind of a same era as Thomas Edison, has a ton of patents. He was kind of an electrical inventor guy. Yeah. His younger brother was a kind of inspirational leader, management guy, and so they put in place a lot of things in the company that made it so we were at one point, and I still think we probably are one of the most highly studied from the incentive management compensation standpoint. We were Harvard Business School. We were the most studied company because it's such a unique incentive plan that Mr. Lincoln came up with. It was like a piecework system, very much a pay for what you produce, along with profitability sharing that everyone in the company enjoys. So we all share in the profits of the company every year, and so it was a great fit for me because I like to be measured, and I'm fine with being paid for what I produce.
Right.
And so it was just a natural fit for me, and I've never found a company that I would prefer to work for. And I've had plenty of opportunities, been in all sorts of manufacturing and distribution and sales companies throughout my career. Just never found anyone that was as good a fit as Lincoln was, and that's so we retain that. There's a lot of people that are likewise like I am, with 32, 34, 35 years. I just was sending a congratulations to a friend of mine in Australia who's been with the company for 45 years. Nice. So he's retiring finally. He's got me beat. I don't think I'll ever get to 45 years. So from that perspective, it's been a great mutual relationship, the company and what I've gotten out of it, and hopefully what they've gotten from me. But you don't see it with younger folks as much, although I will say there's a lot of younger people that have 8, 10, 12 years and a great career path ahead of them. Big enough company that you have lots of global opportunities, small enough company that an awful lot of the people within the organization who've come through the ranks just like you have.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm wondering, as how many kids do you have?
3.
3 kids. So I mean, you're kind of bouncing around there in the Midwest, I assume, when you were having these.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you deal with the family and the job during those?
Well, I
those
had
years?
a wonderful wife
Yeah.
who stayed home, took care of the kids, and we kind of knew where my career took us. That's where we were going to go within reason. We had moved when the kids were younger. Our 2 girls, now 37 and 34. We moved them quite a few times, and the last move we made from Indianapolis back to Detroit, our oldest daughter was 14. She was going into 8th grade, I think, at the time, and it was much harder than as a young kid, right? Kind of more adaptable, and so once we made that move, then we said, okay, that's we don't want to do that anymore. I know some people who've moved kids while they were in high school, and kids fare well, and everything's fine. It just we just made the decision that after the move back to Detroit in 2000, we weren't going to go anywhere particularly, but there were opportunities to go other places at times, and just didn't make it. But I mean, the reason we were able to do all that was because my wife was took care of so many things that allowed me to go do what needed to be done from a work standpoint. That was a great family environment to be able to move together, and we were never like super far from home. It was always I took the kind of easy route to travel. I have colleagues, friends that from the Carolinas originally. He went to Portland originally. Then they made him a great deal to come back to Detroit, and then he was down in Birmingham and Alabama, and so he took more for the team, and his wife took more for the team than we ever did.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I know those things are difficult, but it seems like you guys made it through. And you welcomed your 5th grandchild here recently. Is that right?
Yeah. So we had our 2 older girls. Her oldest daughter Leslie is in Grand Rapids. She's a teacher now. She was an occupational therapist. Did like hands-on occupational therapy work. Went to Grand Valley and lived in the Grand Rapids area, and did a couple of different stints in healthcare, home healthcare, sort of the nursing home stuff, and then she's now a teacher at the Kent County Technical School, where they teach high school kids healthcare job opportunities. So she's got 2. We got 2, a 5-year-old, or a 6-year-old, and an almost 4-year-old. And then our younger daughter, Jenna, is 34 years old. She and her husband live in South Lyon, which was where we lived prior to moving here. And so they just they've got a 6-year-old girl, coming up on 3-year-old son, and then they just had another son. So we've got one girl and then 4 boys following behind her, because she kind of leads them all and rules the grandkid kingdom and other parts of the kingdom as well. So just had our 5th, and then our 3rd child, our son, is 27. He lives in South Lyon as well, and he's getting married in September up here.
Oh, cool.
His conveniently and thankfully, his future wife, his fiance, her family, she has a lot of family up here, so her grandparents live on Old Mission. Her aunt and uncle live in Cedar.
Oh, wow.
And so both of them were leaning toward, okay, if we're going to get married, let's do it up here. So we're at Blue Bridge down in near Interlaken.
Oh, cool.
They'll be getting married here in September on Friday the 13th.
Oh, nice.
But,
yeah.
But yeah, they'll be married here soon.
Cool, yeah, and a great time. September's a great time to get. It's crazy. The wedding industry around here is just absolutely insane. It's,
it is, and we looked around a bunch of wineries, and at Blue Bridge, it was kind of I don't know if you're married or not.
No, I'm not married.
But there's something to be said for having sort of an almost all-inclusive type of thing, where you're like, okay, you're going to take care of most of it, and I don't have to take care of as much of it. We've done both, and from a parent standpoint, from a general management standpoint. Going to a place that has a really nice setup and people that are just going to take charge and take care of things is a welcome kind of setup.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Congratulations to them. And I mean, how old are you now, Tim?
I am 60. I just turned 60. My wife just turned 60 like 3 days ago.
Oh, nice.
5 days ago now. But I just turned 60 in February, so yeah, we've got a few years left in
Heck
me,
yeah.
but not a lot.
Yeah, of course, right? And I mean, as you transition, as you get older and transition in this part of life, I mean, has your not morals, but I mean, do you like kind of look at the world differently, or do you have any thoughts about that, or?
It's a good question. I would say the biggest change for me was when my father passed away in 2008. I finally kind of found my way. My wife had always been pretty Christian, have a pretty strong Christian faith following, but it wasn't until 2008 that I really kind of came to understand and embrace faith. And I had been participating in some ways, but I can't say my whole heart was in it. That was from an outlook standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest change for me, was at the age of whatever I was then, 44.
Mm-hmm.
To find that faith and that peace of mind, I think has been enlightening for me. But in an overall perspective too, though, I would just say I think there's an awful lot of angst in about sometimes being the greatest, most trying times in life, and I think I think it's an awful lot of kind of closed-minded perspective of today being so important to us because we're living it right now. But I think of my parents' generation. My father was born in a coal mining town in West Virginia, lived through the Great Depression as a child, lost two sisters because of flooding of the river and dysentery, and so he lost two baby sisters. Fought in World War II, and then lived through all of the change and advancement in society, including all the racial tensions of the 60s and the oil embargoes of the 70s and the Cold War of the 70s and 80s and all those things. And you think, if you have a perspective on a wider historical perspective, I think I would say it's kind of I've learned to not sweat the small stuff nearly as much, and not think that today is the only day that problems have to be solved. That over time, particularly in a great country like ours, I think there's just with patience and perseverance, I think there's many things get solved that may seem to be just astronomical problems of in today and tomorrow's kind of nearsighted vision.
Yeah, because I mean, you have that worldly experience. I mean, sure, dealing, going to China, going to India, and going to all the. And there's constant issues.
All the European countries and stuff. That I've been thankful. Some of my other colleagues who deal much more in the oil and gas industry, they go to the Middle East much more than I do. I haven't had that opportunity / responsibility. But yeah, I've been extremely blessed in all the what the last 8 years has given me. I've walked the Great Wall of China. I've not the whole thing, just small portion. Seen the Imperial Palace, seen the Eiffel Tower. Traveled to places like Bangkok and Sydney, Australia, and just all these things that just would never have been a possibility in the past. And so gaining that kind of perspective, I think, moderates your anxiety about current modern times, and so I would say that may be a change in my philosophy as well.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And so when you and your wife Annie, right, and Matt, you guys were coming up here in the 80s, right? 80s, 70s, kind of just dating, right?
Yep, we came up here. When we were dating, we came up here for a weekend thing. I remember doing a picnic lunch, sitting on the beach. Sometime probably we started dating in 81, so that was probably like an 81, 82 kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been all over the world. You've gotten to travel a few different, a lot of different places. Why did you guys kind of choose to build up here? I mean,
I'll tell you, it's one of the most beautiful places around. Everyone's kind of I'm a homer, right? I'm a state of Michigan native, and so I think we got some pretty awesome stuff. But we've been around, and so it is from a geography, access to water. One of the things that drew us so much to this area, it's just the natural beauty is probably first and foremost what brings us here. But just the I don't know, sense of community that we've grown to enjoy up here. The other part of it is from an old people perspective. You know, you look around and I'm sure you see it as much as I do, probably more so. There's an awful lot of retirees around here, and it's because there's, you know, we've come to really enjoy wine, right? So we are wine club members at a bunch of the local wineries, and going to visit them, getting to know the people there. I love a small town feel, right? So we've lived in some bigger cities. We always tend to live on the outskirts of those bigger cities because we're just natives of small towns. And so I love a small town feel, which is another reason why Suttons Bay versus Traverse City. Traverse City is not a big city, but I like to go to the grocery store and see people I know, or go to the winery and know the people by name and they know me by name. That sense of small town community is what it's kind of it's a hard thing to put your put your finger on and really quantify, but it's one of those things that just makes it, like, oh, we are in the right place. And we've said that so many times over the course of the last 2 years, that we're fortunate to be here, and we're in one of the best places that we could ever have imagined during this this time period. We didn't know where we'd end up or what the end of the road would look like for us, but having the opportunity to move up here and enjoy all that this area has to offer, between, again, water sports, outdoor activities. I feel like we don't take advantage of all of the hiking trails and kayaking and boating and all the other community activities that are available, because we just haven't had time between finishing the house off in the way we wanted to finish it and family things. We're still hoping for that time when we really start to indulge in all that the area has to offer.
Again, you see, wow, it looks great. The new build looks nice, and you guys even got this nice little yard back here. It's cool.
Well, we didn't get the basement finished because it was that escalating time period. Build started in 2021, early 2021. And between furnaces and ductwork and lumber, everything was escalating in price. So we peeled off finishing the basement. We had it framed and didn't have the electrical done, didn't have the plumbing finished, and didn't do any of the drywall or finishing pieces. So over the last year and a half, 2 years, that's what we've done. Is spent time getting the basement finished, and so we're pretty much done with it. So now becomes, finish off the outside as well. A few finishing touches, and we should be good.
No, it's cool, and I mean, it's just crazy to watch the housing market here in general go over the past few years. Well, and I've been blessed. I've gotten to know a lot of people and got nice connections, and I don't own a home here, but I found a really good rental for the time being, and wow, it's just insane. And
well, it's tough for young people. Our son and his fiance bought a house, and the craziness of what the market's been to try to buy a place, I can't. Of course, renting is ridiculously expensive as well, but yeah, they paid, as a young couple, they paid pretty close to what we paid for our same house in that town of South Lyon, but we had 20 plus years of living and buying a house and selling it and buying a house and selling it. That was our fourth house, I think, that we bought, and they paid almost the same amount as we did for our fourth house as they did for their first house, because it's just a crazy market right now. But then the building around here, this is the part that we built, and there really wasn't anything else under construction around here. You see, there was under construction, but now we're here, and we've got adjacent to us there is construction. Right behind us over here is construction. Skip a house, there's construction. Go down the hill and around the curve, there's another house under construction. There's like five new builds going on right now in various stages right around us. So it's a very active place, very good place if you're a building contractor, I imagine.
Yeah, and then even, being a welder, I know 2 or 3 welders personally who just popped up in the last year. Yeah. Who are making a killing.
Yeah, sure.
Doing,
Well, skilled trades, that's another one of those, kind of passions that, none of my kids are all kids went to school, but the people that I've worked with in skilled trades, I've been in industry and manufacturing for my entire life, and a portion of that has been education. So we worked with a lot of the community colleges, from donating equipment to providing curriculum for them, because you try to feed the industry that's feeding you. and so I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of young people coming into trades, even if it's not welding, and just I love people who build things, right? Because I don't necessarily build things. I try,
Yeah.
tinker down the basement, but people who actually build homes, who do plumbing, who do electrical work, that make things, just love that capability, that skill. The house that's under construction right next door to us is a gentleman who moved up here. He and his wife are still in the process of moving, and he's basically building that house himself. He's a electrical contractor. He's like a project manager for a large electrical contractor in town, and so he has the skill set, and he's building probably 2/3 of that house he's doing himself.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it's a great admiration for him, and you know, hopefully there's a transition to that somewhat back to at least there's enough jobs that need to be done like that enough young people find that a rewarding path to take. That I hope that we don't continue to have the skills gap that we've had.
And yeah, no, I have seen some studies, some reversal of kind of a lot of kids they going in the trades, especially up here. You can be a high school kid and get paid $25 an hour.
Yeah.
For doing some landscaping
Right
or
now.
something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and
Yeah.
you build and
Yeah.
that's it's great opportunity. They're for the person with an entrepreneurial sort of mindset. I didn't have it. Obviously, I worked for the same company forever, but you develop a skill set. You contribute to a company, but you get to a certain. I could see where you could get to a point and say, I could do this myself. And I know that was the case with my father-in-law. That he had worked in construction. He'd been in the military, worked in construction, and he was like, well, I could build a house. I can do drawings. I can do drafting. And so he was a home builder, small operation, custom home builder, and made a living and supported his family that way, and built some super high quality stuff. And then over time, built his own home, built other places that provided his retirement income, and it's a great path, great career path. Something I wouldn't have considered back in my younger days, but probably would as a young person these days.
Yeah. And I mean, you said you've helped young people try to break into the industry or into your side of things. Well, I mean, what would you tell a young Michigan graduate going into today's world if he wanted to go into technical sales or something like that?
Well, it's one of those things where I used to do a lot of recruiting on campus. So I'd go to Michigan State and Michigan, and I was Purdue and Illinois when I was down south, going to Michigan Tech. And the first question I would ask someone is, why were you interested in sales? As if you had gone to a technical path, an engineering degree or something, which is, we hire engineers for our sales positions, but I'm always curious why they would do it, right? If it's something where they have a passion to interact more actively with people, I would totally get that. So, my advice is always, if you have an interest in dealing with people, if you're a naturally competitive person from a sales perspective, I think being a naturally competitive person, whether it's just against yourself or in team sports, is a definite ingredient. But it's really a problem solving in a different way of doing it, right? So an engineer in a production facility or a design person is problem solving using more technical skills. In a technical sales position, you're problem solving using some technical skills, but in some cases, it's actually being able to diagnose what a customer really needs. So what is the break it down into my simple world of welding? I could go in thinking a customer really needs to weld faster, right? Deposit more metal, produce more parts in a day. But if I'm not strategic in questions that I ask and find out what their real pain points are, I may not find out that their real problem is quality. They could produce more parts, but all they're going to do is produce more scrap. If I don't solve the quality problem, producing more parts means nothing to them. So being able to diagnose true needs and then target a solution to that need, that's the part that I would say to a young engineer. If you want to problem solve in a different way, right? Sales might be an avenue for you. It's certainly opens up a door to any number of possibilities. But you look at the job market these days. Young people could do an awful lot of things. You don't have to have a specific degree in a specific area in order to be successful in business in general.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's an interesting perspective there. And before I came here, I went to school, got I played college football. I got journalism degree in marketing, and then I jumped into sales, sold cell phones for quite a bit. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
I was like one of those guys in Sam's Club or Costco who would be like, okay, here,
yeah,
come on.
yeah.
So is that I really cut my teeth on that. You really get to learn how to take a no for sure.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it can be ego deflating, but it can also, when you do get the win, right, it can be very satisfying.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And then, no, I just kind of fell in love with this, and it's a lot more competitive. And now we're battling robots left and right. So that's all right.
That's and that's I mean, it's in my world, right?
Yeah.
There's the pull of a skilled person versus the robot, or in your world maybe it's AI versus the
That's
creativity of the human mind.
Yeah.
And it's never going to end, right? It's never going to change. It's just a mental approach of the reason I get paid is to solve problems, right? Regardless of what job you're in, right? It's sometimes you get paid to process something, right? Something comes in, you do whatever you do, you process it out. That stuff gets replaced by a robot or some kind of automated system at some point in time, or it's very prone to it at least. If there's something where you are problem solving each day, you got AI can potentially replace that, but at the same time, if it requires some nuance, some problem solving that isn't exact, right? It's a gut feel, it's a seeing around corners kind of experience that can, at some point in time, maybe not right away, but at some point in time, can give you that leg up or that benefit. Then that becomes maybe not irreplaceable, but it's much harder to replace with some kind of computer program.
Yeah, no, and that's just made things a lot. And we're in a unique spot here where we still got newspaper. They're dropping left and right. We're doing pretty well for a local newspaper, which is cool to say. I was told I would never work for a print newspaper ever, and I mean it's not the most profitable endeavor, but I love it, and we get some other opportunities out of it too.
But a lot of it is how do you market what's your product like, relative to the appeal of the product, and then how do you market that product? My wife just came home, or maybe we got a free delivery of one or something in our mailbox, and we hadn't been subscribing, but we were like, well, it's only whatever, whatever it is.
Subscribe.
We're like, we'll subscribe. Because again, I think I most of our experience has been people really enjoy being part of the community, and there isn't something that is Leelanau County specific other than something like the Enterprise. That you can watch the Traverse City News, but that's all of northern Michigan, right? So having that, and I also am a big fan of, if I'm reading a book, I'm not a Kindle reader, I'm pick up a paper.
Yeah, it's fun to play that niche too, just the old Leelanau niche, which it's a lot of fun, and that's cool, and it's just been a lot of fun. So glad you guys have gotten up here and finally kind of settled in, stuff like that. Any big plans for the summer besides the wedding, or?
Wedding is occupying pretty much all of it. We haven't done a lot of travel, done a little travel here and there. Went to Mackinac Island here just recently for my wife's birthday, and now the future plans for us. I've got I'm kind of a confused old guy on what I want to do when I retire, and so at some point in time I'm either going to be pouring wine for people. I like mixed drinks. I like a good cocktail, so I may be doing some distilled beverages. But I also have I'm a licensed pastor, so I perform.
Nice.
So I perform the wedding for our oldest daughter. I'm performing the wedding for our son, and so I'm like, maybe I could somehow work that into pouring drinks at a winery, but I'm also like the house pastor or something. I don't know. I'm trying to work. I'm still formulating what my part-time job that gives me a lot of flexibility will be in retirement. But no big plans for any kind of travel. It's get the wedding done. Get some. We're searching for a local musician because there's so much talent around here. Both food talent, and entertainment talent. So we were able to book a singer to play like the day after our son's wedding. I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to have a little private music session. So that's very cool. We're excited about that.
Nice. That's awesome. And what I was going to ask. So, which church do you guys? Do you guys go to a church around here?
So we've been kind of searching. We've been we went to the Congregational Church in Suttons Bay, and it's funny. I'm part of Rotary, from Amy, and there's just been one of those things where you meet people and you go, am I meant to meet this person, and is it is that an opportunity for a new path? So I met a gentleman named David Johnson at Bluestone Winery. We're chatting with him, sitting around one of the little fire pits, and then saw Dave again at Shady Lane Winery, Shady Lane Cellars, sometime later, and we got talking again, and he was a Rotary member, and so that's how I kind of got involved in Rotary. And then through Rotary, we've been kind of looking. We had gone to Catholic church for a while. Anne's Catholic, and I've just been kind of attending along with her. So tried Catholic church, tried some other big church things, and then through Rotary, it was like, well, this person goes to Congregational church, that person goes to Congregational church, and I grew up in the Congregational church back in Midland, and so so that's it isn't set in stone, but we went there a couple of weeks ago, and we were like, oh, this kind of feels right. It kind of fits on us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then I wanted to ask you, how important is it for you to be connected in Rotary? Were you in Rotary in Midland or anywhere else?
No, Rotary was, my father was in Rotary, and one of my other friends' dads was in Rotary, and so I knew they did, a pancake supper every year is a big fundraiser, and I knew they had sort of youth development where they sponsored exchange students, which again, back in the 70s and 80s, international exchange student, that was like a wild concept kind of. So I knew of Rotary, but had never been involved in Rotary. It was really, but I in previous places where we've been, through our kids, we had always been involved in some sort of community activity, whether there's PTO, we built a playground with a group of folks in Flushing. I always coached our kids' ball teams, and so you had that kind of natural interaction with not just your neighbors, but people in the larger community, and that continued in South Lyon until our kids grew up, and then you didn't have that natural group of people. There was a men's group through the church that I was going to that I really enjoyed, and that's been lacking since we moved up here, and so the opportunity to attend Rotary, and then I went to Rotary a few times as just a guest, and I enjoyed that because what I saw there was a bunch of people giving each other shit and like ragging on each other for not, oh, you're this, and I'm like, this is like what the relationship is with my friends, right? When I'm around this group of friends that we refer to as our high school friends, because we all graduated together, everyone it's kind of a who can jab on the other guy. It's gentle, right?
Yeah.
But it's, and I was instantly impressed with, like, this is a group of people that are willing. They're tough enough to take a few shots, but they're willing to throw a few shots themselves. I'm like, those are my kind of people.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. I mean, getting yesterday I had 4 or 5 people I talked to for stories that were all there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's very important.
Well, there's a lot of community leaders there. I haven't been involved in any other kind of whatever charitable organization like that from a organizational standpoint. Been done things with various Catholic groups that we've been involved in, but it's impressive. Like I sit there and I'm like, this guy's a judge, and that guy was a judge, and these people are prosecutors and run the newspapers and prominent members of the community on boards and county commissions and all that kind of stuff. And you go, oh, okay, I'm just kind of a schmo, but feel like I can fit in and contribute. And so it's been a cool fit. I don't know what drew me to it. A little bit of probably imprint from my dad in his days, and another sort of tug to want to find a place to contribute, because the other thing we've talked about is just opportunities for volunteering as we get more and more time on our hands, kids are grown, jobs not as demanding, all that kind of stuff is, you look for opportunities to contribute because you've had so much done for you over time. You feel like you really should find ways to give back to others.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I try to get all my reporters and coworkers over there because it's like that's where it's happening, guys. Just
At the Rotary Club,
or there's coffee meetings, and Omina, and you just got to get out there.
It is. It's just
that's how I found a sweet deal on a place, and you know what I mean, and stuff like that.
It's the old not what you know but who you know kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Connections to people, and that's that's what I love about smaller, close-knit communities.
Then you got that presentation yesterday to South Fox Island.
Yeah,
I've gotten the chance to go out there a couple times.
Have you?
It is cool.
What's the appeal of it? I mean, is there even a dock, right?
No, there's no dock. There's no dock.
How do you do it? You a little dinghy coming from you kind of moor your boat or something?
Yeah, there's a dinghy, or we went out on a landing craft, so you can just ride that right up on the rocks, basically, on the small rocks. But it's just like one of the oldest light stations on the Great Lakes. It was run down, and then they've just put this work, and I've volunteered for it a few times. That's how you kind of get out there, and it's cool, man. The star is totally different. You can see Wisconsin, the windmill farms in Wisconsin, and you can. It's insane. It's I think one of the coolest places. If you haven't got it, you got to get out to the Manitou Islands, and it's hard to get to, but if you ever get the chance to get to South Fox, you got to do it because it's awesome. We did,
when my son was younger, when we were living down in the Detroit area, we did South Manitou. We
nice.
Camp a couple nights there with a friend and a friend of mine and his son, and it got rained on, just drenched the night we were leaving, so we were thankful we were able to get off the island. But Fox is, if I remember right, because I was looking when we were up at the lighthouse in Northport, it's kind of almost, is it a little, I guess, north and west from Northport?
Yeah.
Right? Just kind of out in the...
Kind of just out there, and then, you got, it's way out there, and then you got North Fox there, which is even more, just an airstrip.
Okay.
And there's just only a few people that ever go out there, and it's just interesting story, interesting place. And then
after that, every time folks come and present, especially on something historic like that, I love that kind of parts to this area. But I was like, I came home and told my wife about it, and I'm like, I don't know how you get out there though, unless you know somebody with a boat, right?
Yeah,
or you volunteer, and is it like? Was she saying it was like do you go at a week at a time, or
they do weeks and then they do weekends? I can't ever get out. Most people can't get out there for a week. That's why, and they know that. But I mean, it kind of the really hardcore people will definitely still go out for a week. But I mean, you can charter something out there, but. I usually tend to go out there just for a night or two. And just try to catch a ride with them, but it depends on weather, so it's really hard to nail down.
And do the buildings have enough space for you to sleep in there?
Yeah.
Are you in a tent or?
Oh yeah, you get. Well, I mean, if you get so many people, you can get a tent there, but it's like it's a whole little campground there, and it's cool, and it's one of my favorite places. So that reminded me, I have to get out there this summer. It's just super cool. That's just one of my favorite places out here. And then I guess you really like wine around here. I wanted to which wineries are you a part of, or
so we're members of 5 different wine clubs, and we were up to 6 at one point in time. But we were every time we go to pare back, we're like, no, we can't do that. So going from south to north, we are Bregman Brothers, Shady Lane, Bluestone, Verterra, and we're only down to 4 now. Yeah, maybe we're only at 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Bluestone, Verterra. We were 45 North. Maybe that was when we were 5. Yeah. So those are our go-tos. We Dunebird is the one that we over in Leland we really like. We just haven't joined their wine club. We just don't get over the between the other ones. We live up to our commitment and stock our wine cellar, and it's great fun. But each one has their own appeal. Each one kind of has their own wines that we like. But they're all really good, and each one is kind of unique. So Shady Lane's a place we take a lot of visiting folks. It's like outdoor space, really nice in the summertime, but indoor in the wintertime. It's a small little place, but they do Friday nights. They have soup and live entertainment from, I don't know, February on, January on. So that was our Friday night stop, was Shady Lane. So we've gotten to know the folks there quite well. Vertero's got some really good,
Yeah.
really good out.
They just won something. They won
Yeah.
something
Do
big.
you do any of the wineries or?
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I've gotten to cover all these wineries. Got to interview a bunch of the owners and a bunch of the original guys who really kind of started, the wine industry up here. Only 40, 50 years ago, they've been doing this, and I've covered maybe two wineries a year opening up around here since I've been here.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a little concern with, I know wine globally and consumption has gone down a little bit. Sparkling has gone up.
Yeah.
And that seems to be all the rage, at least this year, is the sparkling wine. That's a lot more in my face, at least.
Okay.
And it's just awesome. I assume that you've been around the world, taste some really good wines.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you think? I know these guys are still kind of in their infant stages, especially in the reds. But there's some people that do great reds still.
Yeah. So reds, we've when I was going, I haven't gone to southern Germany. We have a facility in kind of south of Germany where I was going to spend a lot of time. And it's kind of the Rhine country. So dry Rieslings, it's very similar in what they grow very well there to what are our favorites around here. So I'd come back from that area, which is kind of south of Frankfurt, almost on the, it's almost on the French border, because they have good food. You go to North Germany, food just not so much. But down there, it's just great stuff. But great wines, Spanish wines. I haven't been to Italy yet. We're going next year. We're going to Tuscany, and we're going to do some wine tasting there. But again, relatively inexpensive Spanish wines. The red wines, excellent stuff. Beyond that, Polish vodka is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
The Polish vodka is Polish folks are some of my favorite folks that I've ever visited. I long to get back there. It's been too long since I've been there, but we did a customer event, and like you would have wine in chilled containers along your banquet table. They have bottles of vodka, and they are excellent bottles of vodka. Just sipping vodka, pour yourself a little kind of juice glass. Great stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to think of any other ones. I love the wine up here. We just maybe our palates have developed around it, but yeah, the Pinot Noirs around here we've kind of become fond of. We're basically kind of red blend, not like a big super chewy thick Cabernet Sauvignon is not our style. So the red blends and Pinot Noirs around here are pretty darn good, and then it's dry whites like Rieslings. Pinot Blancs, some Pinot Grigios are all, they do an excellent job with them here.